Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
Great Masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
beloved Guru,
beloved Guru,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
friend and guide Swami Kriyananda,
friend and guide Swami Kriyananda,
lovingly and humbly
lovingly and
we
humbly
bow at thy feet.
we bow at thy feet.
O Divine Mother,
O Divine Mother,
give us your courage,
give us your courage,
give us your joy
give us your joy,
to face the difficulties in life.
to face the difficulties in life,
Give us your love
give us your love,
to share those
to share love
with those who are in need.
with those who are in need.
Give your wisdom
Give your wisdom
to understand
to understand
that all this is your play
that all this is your play,
and that all is good
and that all is good
in you, Mother.
in you, Mother.
We are your children.
We are your children.
Receive us
Receive us
and bring us home
and bring us home
in this lifetime.
in this lifetime.
Om.
Om
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
I've lived in many countries and mixed with many men. I've shared the days of sunshine, gone with them in the rain. The fires at evening said we were brothers. The fires at evening said we were brothers. A soldier I saw weeping beside a dying friend. My officers had said I must hate him till the end. But seeing his grief I knew we were brothers. But seeing his grief I knew we were brothers. A man sat on a doorstep to see the children play. The gentle way he smiled there would charm your fears away. A stranger he but love made us brothers. A stranger he but love made us brothers. One day I climbed a mountain with friends of other lands. The words we used were different, but joy would understand. Our gladness in God's world made us brothers. Our gladness in God's world made us brothers. The words and customs vary like waves upon the sea. One life beneath the surface binds everyone to me. Who knows the truth knows all men are brothers. Who knows the truth knows all men are brothers. Then brothers, why endeavor to set ourselves apart? The fences we've been building squeeze tight upon our hearts. Come sing the truth that all men are brothers. Come sing the truth that all men are brothers.
Let's affirm together, first in a loud voice, then in a normal voice, then in a whisper, and finally silently, with ever increasing concentration and focus, taking the vibration of this affirmation and taking it inwards. Please repeat after me. I live protected by God's infinite light.
I live protected by God's infinite light.
So long as I remain in the heart of it,
So long as I remain in the heart of it,
nothing and no one can harm me.
Nothing and no one can harm me.
Good morning, dear souls. Such a joy and blessing and honor to be with all of you in this Sunday service in this beautiful temple. The vibrations are so wonderful. Aaron, Cora, Nika, thank you for the wonderful music. I'll read from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. Perfection is self-transcendence. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yoganandaji. We begin this week with a passage from the Gospel of St. Matthew chapter 5. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. If you love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the tax collectors the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even pagans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. This teaching is a continuation of last week's lesson. To love all equally is possible only by seeing God everywhere, in others as well as in oneself. See whatever comes to you unasked for as a manifestation of His will. Be grateful for the pains you experience, for they are healing strokes of His love. Sometimes healing is effected only by strong measures, but His love for you is manifested in the very attempt to heal. Strive always to be impersonal, as though whatever happens to you were happening to someone else. Persecution gives us the supreme opportunity to deny the thought, this is happening to me, and to affirm in our inner freedom from the thought of ego. Don't allow the negative perceptions of others to become your own self-definition. Seek God. This is the true goal of life, though how difficult to cling to in the midst of hatred, spite, and persecution. The Bhagavad Gita tells us in the 7th chapter, out of thousands one strives for spiritual attainment, and out of many blessed true seekers who strive assiduously to reach me, only perhaps perceives me as I am. One perhaps perceives me as I am. O truth seeker, be one among those thousands who seeks the supreme goal. Thus through mankind, thus through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our beautiful Sunday service. As Arnab was just saying, it's such a beautiful vibration here. Some of you probably know about the very difficult time going back in India. It seems like the COVID virus has come back with a vengeance in the form of a second wave. And the second wave is like nothing anyone has seen ever before. And you can imagine, we are constantly getting, news and calls and communications of people needing prayers, people in ICU, people passing away. So it's a really difficult time. And we were so glad that we got the opportunity to put our prayers together when this effort went out from the Sangha, Ananda Sangha, with Devi and Jyotish leading that first ascension ceremony. So I believe every day from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., if you don't know about it already, there are prayers that are happening. People are coming together to prayer, and there are links available. And then in the evening from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., there is the ascension ceremony is happening for those souls who are passing at this point. So such an apt topic. I mean, I don't know how it happens many times that the affirmation of courage is exactly what we need right now. And so, the first tendency of the little ego, the little self, whenever we are faced with any kind of problem, challenges, persecution, as Swamiji says, our first reflex is the energy goes down, isn't it? We contract. Sometimes the reaction is maybe anger, like somebody's responsible for my misfortune. Sometimes it is just despair, hopelessness, listlessness or restlessness. I've experienced that just a restlessness, and I don't know because I'm so far away and there's no way I can really help, except there's a really great tool, which was why I was especially grateful when, just as a single, not like a single prayer, but we were able to gather it together. But these are the ways the little ego always reacts, in fear. And so our topic today is, how do we transcend that? Self-transcendence. How do we transcend from the little ego, the little self, to move towards the larger self? And so let's see how that would look. It would look exactly the opposite. So when we fight the ego's tendency to pull us down, to contract with expansion, and we are hearing such beautiful stories also, you will see when times are difficult, that's when people rise to the occasion with such beautiful stories of courage, of compassion, of love. We heard of, I think many of us heard, Devi was sharing about a devotee in India. His dad passed away and his son passed away. And there he was reaching out to the leaders saying, can we do anything to help others? So, because that is the way. That is the way out of the despair. That is the way out from feeling fear and discouraged. So, how do we transcend that? It is difficult when you are facing such, colossal suffering and pain, and it just hits you at the heart. How do we overcome that tendency of the little self? So first of all, let's acknowledge that there is no other way. Remember how Master has reminded us, or Arjuna says, or Krishna is telling Arjuna in the Gita, that get away from my ocean of suffering. There is no other way to get away from that ocean of suffering. If we think we are going to find the solution, or we are mustering the energy to get out of this, then we will fail, surely. The only way, as Master has taught us, is hold God's hand. And I was just sharing with Arnab while coming to the center today morning. I was just wondering, the plight of people right now. And I was just thinking of those who doesn't have God in their lives. I cannot even imagine. I cannot even go there. Because imagine a dark, dark night, and you cannot absolutely see where to go and what is happening. And you don't have the light of God. So our way out to transcend this suffering, to transcend this delusion, because we know this is all of Divine Mother's game. And I don't want to trivialize anybody's pain. But the truth is that this is a dream. And the only way out of this nightmare of a dream is to follow the light. And so how do we do that? How do we follow light? How does it look like in our everyday lives? I think the first thing is, if we can do this more and more, see Divine Mother as the doer. See her as doing everything. So we could start right from the physical plane, like when you're meditating, see her meditating through you, and you are meditating for her, and she's meditating through you. And when you are breathing, take a moment and pause. Mother, you are breathing through me. Acknowledge that. When you're going for a walk, you are walking through me. See her in your loved ones. Sometimes it's difficult, but we can see her in our loved ones. She is giving us so much love through them. She's giving us so much support through them. And then extend that. See her in the strangers. She's speaking to us. She's in the breeze. She's in the beautiful fragrance of the flowers. She's everywhere. And the more we live in the thought of Divine Mother, this is staying in the heart of it. Remember the affirmation we just did? As long as I am in the heart of that light, how do I stay in the heart of the light? By more and more and more deeply attuning with her in this way, feeling her presence and seeing her as the doer, not just as a statement and just as words, but really taking it with us through every action through the day, such that it becomes a continuous action of Divine Mother. And as we do this more and more, the ego, which was just a delusion, it's just it's Maya. That Maya gets dimmer and dimmer as Divine Mother's light flows through us more and more. That becomes the reality, which in effect is the only reality. But the delusion gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Another aspect I was thinking about is, I'm a science teacher. I always have these, I can't help myself. I was thinking, if I could draw a graph, x-axis, y-axis, because there are two variables to a perfectly balanced life. We all know life, we all want to be happy. That's the basic instinct of life, that we want to exist and we want to find happiness. And we want to know, because we are reflections of the Satchidananda. So all those three aspects, in a much diluted form, is present in us. So we all want to be happy, and we want to have, pleasures of life. We want to enjoy, we want to have a good time. And then there are those other times that we don't like, which is exactly opposite of those times. It brings us pain, it brings us suffering, it brings us persecution. So then how do I balance life? And I was thinking, imagine on your y-axis are all the things we are doing to bring in happiness, to live in joy. And then for, devotees of Master, we know the more we are meditating deeply, the more we are making contact with God, and we are tasting Divine Mother's love in our meditation, or we are feeling that unconditional joy rising up when we are doing Kriya. And so all that is happening on one end. And then the other end, of course, the unavoidable, is the pain, the suffering. But let's not look at it as the pain and suffering. Let's label the x-axis as growth, because that's what it actually is. And when we are having that perfect balance of having things to enjoy in life and being able to handle the growth points in life, we achieve that perfect balance, equal amounts of both. And think about it this way. I was thinking, these joy tools, as we are living more and more in joy, and as Swami Kriyananda has taught us, that joy doesn't come to you when all your problems are settled, every little worry has been, ironed out, and life is perfect, and okay, now I'm free to enjoy joy. No. It's quite the opposite. Joy is a tool, and we make a choice of being and living in joy and spreading joy, and so that becomes an actual real tool in the face of despair. And the same thing with love. So all these things that we are doing, that we are enjoying, and that brings us, unconditional joy, all the good cheeses in life, that can be used to overcome the points where we need to grow. Why is it so essential to have problems in life? If I had a perfect life and I absolutely was not able to stretch myself at all, then I'm exactly there where I began at the beginning of my life. And we all know life is a lesson, so what was the point? What a waste, isn't it? And every time you are feeling uncomfortable about anything that's making us feel uncomfortable, that sense of uncomfortableness, and I don't mean it in the negative sense, it's just that, oh my God, I have to do that, or oh no, those reactions, or how come? Anything that is dislodging us from our sense of balance and joy. Those are the points of opportunities for growth. And if we can find the willingness to not, push them away, because that's our first instinct. Like, this doesn't belong here. But instead, if we can relax, bring Divine Mother in, which we have been doing, right? We are practicing her presence. Now, in these times of difficulties, we just relax, accept, see it as coming expressly from her loving hands as a prescription for our own growth. Then there is no resentment. There is just acceptance and surrender to her will joyfully, and asking her to help out, right? So many times we see ourselves like we will make up our mind, I'm not going to, get pushed, my buttons get pushed by that particular person, that boss, that coworker, that student. We have all of those moments, and then we fail. Invariably we fail. But at that point, if we just stop for a moment, instead of wasting energy in blaming ourselves and doing all of that, which is totally useless, if we can just bring in Divine Mother and give that failure to her. I give this to you. I was not able to do it. Help me out next time. You worked through me, so you work through me next time to achieve what I'm trying to achieve, to be able to grow. As we see her as the doer more and more, we start seeing that while on one end it's just her doing out all of this drama, and then there are all these problems, but she has a solution for all of them. And guess who is in the middle? Us, our ego, our barrier. So how can I reduce my ego if I didn't have that problem that's going to help me stretch over and find the solution from her? Do you see how essential problems are in our life? So if we can see that as a blessing, and then, she knows what she's doing, even though it doesn't make any sense to us. Like, why would somebody in the prime of their, this is the news we got this morning, somebody in their mid-40s, late 40s, a family just like ours, kid in high school, taken away, just like that, in 3 days. Why, you ask? You don't know. You don't have any answer. And the only way out is to surrender. I don't understand, Mother, but you do. I'm sure something good is going to happen out of all of this. Show me the way. Show me the way. Let me put my little ego on the side with all its emotions and all its, it muddles out the message that is trying to come from Divine Mother. It gets all muddled with our emotions. We're not even listening at that point. So our first step then is to first practice the y-axis in good times, because it's easier, like Master said. Make friends with God in your good time. So establish that very strongly. Everything that brings in joy, that brings in God in our lives. And this is for us, the devotees especially. we have to find time for God, because it's a question of life and death. And it becomes even more clear at these points in our lives when we see the dark phases. It's absolutely a question of life or death. If you tell me that I don't have time to meditate, I was not able to do Kriya 2 days last week, I would say, stop, friend, right there, and think what you're doing. It is a question of life and death. So put God first. Nothing comes. So be stubborn about that. And then everything else follows. And you'll see, it's not really, when we do this, it's not a grim, like, oh my God, I have to find time for meditation and, we are knitting our eyebrows. No. We find when we just resolve to do that and we put out that energy, no matter how busy or how difficult, we're always putting God first, we start getting flooded by Divine Mother's grace. It's as if something, a little breeze comes and lifts our sail up. You have this wonderful experience in meditation, as if she says, good job, move on. So as we put God more and more, it feels like, how did I live without this before? Because it is so, God is, like Master used to say, He's more addictive than the wine. When we start drinking that wine of divine love, when we taste that, we wonder, how did I live without this before? What was life before? Or when I see people are suffering without the support of that spiritual support, it's unthinkable, it's unbearable, this nightmare of a life. So as we make space for God, then that x-axis of troubles, of suffering, of persecution, pain, death becomes bearable. Not only bearable, it actually helps us to take the next step up. Again, the science teacher. Imagine electrons going around. I'm sure you guys all have seen somewhere a picture of the nucleus and electrons are all going around. And we are told that each electron that belongs to a particular path cannot leave that path and go either down or up unless its energy changes. So imagine we are going around in a certain orbit, right? And we are normal people, so we need to have a problem in front of us so that we will muster that energy and then we go up to the next shell. Our growth happens. So the hurdle is forcing us to put out more energy, and as we do that, that growth happens. And then guess what? As we are jumping our shells, after a while, we're free. The electron is free to go. It's not bound to go round and round around the nucleus anymore. So that is another visualization we can use when we are facing trouble and all kinds of pains are coming our way. Think of this as a way to increase our energy, because the easiest thing, why does the ego tend to go low energy? Why does it feel self-pity? Why does it feel sorrow? Why does it feel despair, anger? Why? Because that's the easiest low energy state. As the energy flows down, you don't have to do any work to let the energy go down. It does that on its own. You have to put out energy to pull it up and make it go in the opposite direction. That's growth. And that's what the hurdles are for, so that we put out that energy. So at the end, I hope this was, I was really moved by today's, whatever happened in the morning. But I feel like this is a blessing. Remember what Master has said? That if we want to know God, and whoever you are tuning in to Sunday service today, you want God. You're looking for God. You're already there, 90% there. So there's much, much reason for rejoice, much, much reason for hope. And we have Master in our lives. We are so blessed and we are so grateful for that. So the more we live in that thought, like as Master has said, let us all resolve today to live in the thought that we already have Divine Mother in our lives. She's already there. We just have to improve our knowing, our understanding that we have her. Joy to you.
Nightingale.